Hey everyone, welcome back to Notes to Self. My name is Melanie.
And I'm Corey.
If you don't know who we were both born and raised in the AUB or the Apostolic United Brethren, which is a polygamous cult here in Utah. I was raised with 4 mothers and 34 brothers and sisters.
And my dad had 9 wives and 39 kids in a compound up in Pinesdale, Montana. So
you were going to hesitate on saying Pinesdale. How come? You were
I wasn't. I was trying to say something.
Funny name.
Oh yeah, I could have done that too. But I was just gonna. I don't know.
A lot of the kids up in Pinesdale would add an E.
No, we changed the words around on their sign coming in. So
yep, they finally had
moved the E and the I around on Pinesdale.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yep. And then
use your imagination. If you don't know how to spell, write it on a piece of paper.
And then the priesthood leaders would get so angry, and so they issued a sign in steel so that we couldn't change the words around. So turds.
So this has been a fun season. This is our first season of Sister Wives that we have watched all the way through and done commentary on. I think, didn't we start with episode 1? I think we did. I can't remember. It's been like a whole year of Sister Wives. So this is the very last one. And this one, we watched this episode. I think we probably watched a total of 5 times because we watched it a couple times yesterday. And then we ran out of time. And then my mom's been staying with us because she's been sick. And so she was gone yesterday and came back this morning and wanted to watch it with us again this morning. And we could never watch these episodes with somebody like my mom or Corey's mom and not pause and chat and laugh and make fun of stuff. And then because my mom has been a polygamous wife for over 52 years. And so we had just sat and had a good time with it. Because yesterday when I did my live reaction, like we just watch it, pause, make a video. I was getting a little bit lit up about it because some of the stuff this fool was saying was frustrating me so bad. And because it's just it's so typical of how so many of these men in this religion act and the things that they say and the things that they do. And so it's just infuriating being on the receiving end of some of that. And I've watched my dad react the same way. I've watched my ex-husband react the same way, even down to the same mannerisms when they say stupid, dumb stuff. So
religious stuff, dogmatic stuff.
So we had a good time with it today. We made a lot of laughs, made my mom laugh a lot, and it was a fun morning. So we did our healing this morning through laughter therapy, and we all had a good time laughing. But if you haven't done your healing work, we want to remind you to do your healing work. There's so many different modalities of healing out there, and we invite you to find which one might work for you. And again, just remind people, if you are a human in a human body, then you have experienced trauma of some sort. And we invite you to find out how to heal that and start working and doing your inner work. Because that does make a lot of these kind of videos that we go through a little bit less infuriating when we watch them. Helps us to find our sense of humor.
Part of my healing work is, I don't know who the fan was, but somebody's following us and wanted some completion energy back here. So I went around and found some completion energy, and I think I filled every spot back there of all of our little knickknacks.
So we'll go into some of the details about what some of them are on some of our other videos that are like why the importance of some of them in some of our other videos that we're going to be doing here in the future, because there are some really important things up there that matter to us and our grandchildren and our children. So maybe we'll explain some of those in a different video. But so
finished up the completion energy. So thank you for that
comment. She was like, please either take everything all off of one shelf and put it onto the other, take the other one down, or just do something. But we started it. And then I want to say we went to Montana for the funeral, and then my mom got sick, and then she's been staying with us. And then she did go home for a little bit of time. She was doing a lot better. And then she just came back again for another surgery. And so she's been with us for a week now. So that's been fun to have her. And we've been caring for her for the last week. So it's always fun when my mom's here and we watch Sister Wives together. It is and it isn't, because it does bring up a lot for her. And especially in these tell-alls where it's like, what in the hell? And Cody brings up so many, there's just so much. So we're in for a ride today.
Yeah.
Just be aware, I have 4 pages of notes. So this is going to be a long one. So for all my favorite people out there who are cleaning their houses, put your headphones in and let's get some cleaning done, and let's get some, let's talk about this. So we're excited actually to move on from Sister Wives, because Sister Wives, like I said, is not our favorite subject to talk about, but we do like to talk about polygamy. We do like to talk about the way that we were raised. We do hope that we can find those out there who are experiencing religious traumas and wanting to heal from some religious traumas and relate to our commentary that way. So yeah, we're excited for some of the projects that we're going to be working on this summer, like our polygamy rules of polygamy. Our we still will be doing a rewatch, just FYI. We're it's our rewatch has gone really slow. We breezed through season 2, but season 3 has been a little bit slower for us since we've had our mom to take care of. So and then so the projects that we'll be working on this summer we'll do a series on the rules of polygamy, and then we'll also play the footage of our trip to Montana that we did. Plus we will be going to Montana again this summer. So it's just going to be, we got those 2 big ones that we're going to be working on, and a couple little filler things here and there that we're going to be working on, maybe sharing our own story a little bit more. So come along for the ride. We're excited. And thank you all for everyone who subscribed to our channel and liked our channel. We really appreciate the shares and the likes and the acknowledgement. You guys have been so amazing in and out of our comment section. So we've really appreciated that. Reddit got me fired up for a while, but I have since gotten rid of Reddit. I don't go to Reddit anymore just because it's just not worth the brain damage. So I jumped on Reddit for a while, and then my daughter-in-law, actually my soon-to-be daughter-in-law, I already like to claim her because she's a sweetheart, had talked me into getting onto Reddit, and I was like, this is a bad place. I don't want to be here anymore, especially since we already talk about controversial subjects here on our podcast and our YouTube channel. It's a little hard to go through and read some of the comments.
I'm still on Reddit. I get on there all the time. I'm looking for that one hater that doesn't like me.
Oh gosh.
So I need a hater. One of you guys on Reddit put a hate comment for me so that I can feel important.
He loves to make fun of me, that people on Reddit, and I get it. I took a lot of the feedback that we got as some constructive criticism, because I do tend to talk fast. I get ADHD very severely, and I just tend to go. So I'm working on mellowing some of that out, because especially on a subject that I get fired up about, and patriarchal men, and it fires me up quite a bit. So it's great because I've raised very independent, very self-sustaining girls that have now turned into beautiful women. And so for that reason, I'm glad that this lights a fire in me, because I lived under the thumb of this patriarchy for so long in my life that, and I still find myself falling into little things here and there. It'll be a lifetime of healing for sure.
Yeah.
But there we go. So there's our long intro to this video. So this tell-all was funny and frustrating and hilarious and what the hell. I do believe that they are filming a season 20. I have heard from people that I know personally who are currently filming season 20. I don't know if that's going to come out or not. I've heard here and there from everywhere. It kind of seemed like in this finale, it felt like it was a goodbye almost, at the way that Sukiana said goodbye to everybody, but I don't know. Again, I have heard personally from people who are actually going to be in season 20 that they were filming. So I don't know.
She didn't say goodbye to Robin. I think it was more like good riddance, or I don't know. So.
Oh gosh. And we've really tried hard not to have our channel be a gossip channel. But
just a snark channel.
Times it's just when you live with this type of people for so long, it's hard not to make fun of some of the stuff that they do.
Yeah, this is what AUB is full of.
Cody and Robin,
yeah,
for sure.
And the righteous victimhood of each and every righteous man and their families, and so it's hard not to make fun of them. I mean, we made fun of them ever since we were little kids, and
I know, right?
Could get away with it without getting thumped.
When parents couldn't hear us, and, yeah, and we'd make fun of it. So this is going to be Sister Wives season 19, Tell All, episode 4. Yeah, you got it right.
Got it right.
So, all right. We started out with Suki telling Christine, Robin gets the luggage rack. And this damn luggage rack has just been such a big, thing for these women. And I get it, because I love the way Christine said that. Well, Robin just knows how to get her needs met.
Yeah.
And then Christine says, Cody took what was best and we took what was left over. And this is very, very common for the men in the AUB. It's very frustrating, because a lot of times if there's something left over, the woman receives it. But that's a big if. Or the children are never even considered most of the time when something like this happens. And it really changed the dynamics. We'll go into some of these other videos, change the dynamics about even the way we've raised our children, knowing that as children of polygamous parents, we didn't get the things that the parents got. We didn't get the things that the dad got. Dad got the fancy dinners. Mom got what was left over, and we got the ramen noodles or the potatoes or sometimes mac and cheese, whatever was left over. We certainly never got the steak, got the meat. Your family was different because you were raised on the mountain in a garden. Yeah. But yeah. So Christine's very right when she says this.
It was a truth when we were growing up, but there came a point where we were the kids going out and getting the food. And so that's when I think we saw in episode 2 or one of the episodes where she says the workers eat first, because we were out gathering the food. We were out, then we got more of the food. So we were the ones that went and hunted and got the venison and put it in the freezer. So if we wanted a venison steak, we would go, hey, we're going to take one. They'd be like, yep, that's fine. Yeah. But everything else was issued out to the rest of the family. So.
And the episode that Corey's talking about, we actually just did a recap on this, where the whole family goes up to Wyoming, and they're out there working all day. And then Janelle's mom says, hey, we're and you can tell the difference in the way that the mothers raise their children, because they're calling for the dinner bell, right? All the kids come running in, and Robin's kids are first in line to get food. And Janelle's mom says, no, we're feeding the workers first. But all the other kids knew that. They knew that, oh, wait, we feed whoever's been out working on the field all day. We feed them first. And so there is an order to things. And Robin's kids are like, we don't care. We're hungry. We've been eating, and Robin's like, yeah, my kids are eating. So there was a difference in the way that even the children react immediately to what's happening. And so I did appreciate the way that Christine pointed that out, because this is a big thing in polygamy. And so, yeah, one of the number one rules in our home that I have always had since my youngest was born is that we do not hide food. And if there's food in the home, everyone is entitled to eat that food, because that was just not how we were raised. It's like, nope, this is special food for dad. This is what you can eat. And so Sukiana tells this to Christine, and Christine's like, oh, well, Robin knows how to get her needs met. And she goes, yeah, Cody didn't even know what we were talking about. And of course he didn't know what they were talking about, because he thinks every night's steak night at that wife's house. And so because every house he goes to, he's treated with this royalty, level of royalty. To him, it doesn't seem any different. Oh, what? You don't eat like this every day? What are you doing? How are you not supporting your family? And so sometimes I think they genuinely don't see some of the squalor that we lived in, because it's not it's a foreign thing to them because they're fed well every day, or their needs are taken care of every day, where, you know, I remember going without a lot of times so that my mom could afford something for my dad. And that was not because she was trying to be ignorant to her children. It was just, oh, dad's birthday's coming up, we're going to go without so that we can save up for dad's birthday, or something to that effect. So I do appreciate the way that Christine pointed that out. And then we get David on the couch, and David's great. I really love the feedback that David gives.
Yeah, he's been around polygamous families. I really enjoyed what he said about that polygamy does ruin wives.
The majority of women, it really does.
Yeah, and that what he was saying resonated with me. One of the things that once I came out of and excommunicated and came down here and was living on my own, one of my things that I was like, I am not going to marry or date a crazy polygamous chick is how I put it in my brain.
Words.
Yeah. And I really was trying to avoid dating anybody from the community or from anybody I knew growing up. And it was because Mel and I became friends beforehand. And
I was kind of a big thing.
And she was completely different. When I knew her, she was completely confident. She had had some confidence about her, and was a go-getter. So and cute.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and I know when I first asked Corey out, he was like, "Yeah." The blank look on his face was awesome. I was like, "Oh gosh, this kid is whooped over me." So it was awesome. But so I really appreciate the way that David points this out when Suki says something to the effect of, conflict between the wives. And David's like, no, that they want conflict between the wives. And we've talked about this on our channel before, where he's like, no, the men they pit these women against each other so that they always maintain a level of control. Now, of course, we're watching this with my mom. And I said, Mom, did you feel like this happened to you in polygamy? And she's like, absolutely. And I said, because as a child, I observed this happening, that my dad would say something to one wife, say something to another wife. Then that way they're always bickering at each other and they're never focused on him and what's happening with him. And that way he's a puppet master pulling all these strings.
Well, and also they don't, within this group, within the teachings, if they know that the man's messing up, they really shouldn't be saying something negative about him. One of the rules is that you don't talk negative about your husband. You could
your priesthood leaders.
Your priesthood leaders, yeah. So you could go and talk to maybe another somebody above him and ask if this is proper behavior, and if they say no, then they would go talk to the priesthood leader. The one thing I wanted to say too is the young girls in this society are raised up, and if they have any sort of self-esteem or they stand up for themselves, then they are considered hot-headed, or
that could be a problem for you later on in your marriage.
So that usually they are I wouldn't say beat down, but preached to become more humble,
to lecture that out of them.
And that'd be the meetings, the Sunday school meetings where they're talking to you, or the firesides where they're talking to these girls and saying, you guys are getting too arrogant, you're getting this. Where once you become a priesthood holder at 12 years old, you're being told you need to be a leader, you need to. And so, trying to build up the young men's, in some ways, self-esteem, that they've got to learn certain things and have a good work ethic, become a leader, be a guide, study the gospel, where the girls are just taught different, how to be a good homemaker, how to cook, how to clean, and how to be obedient. So
right.
Right.
And you're never taught to have goals or aspirations unless your goals and aspirations are to have children and to have a good relationship with your sister wives. Well, how are you going to support your husband? Or some of your goals and aspirations could be, what can I do in my husband's business for him? How am I secretary? Am I, the janitor? What am I doing? How am I serving his business? Because it's the family business. So that's quite often what the women will do as well. That's what I did. And so I really appreciated how David started to talk about this. And then he says, no, they're not equal like you and I. And he points to him and Christine. And you see that light up in Christine's face, because all of a sudden she's starting to get some recognition. And it's not that I don't feel Christine ever needed to be like the queen wife. She just needed to be valued in some way. And David comes in and he values her. He values like, hey, we are equal. I believe in you. I believe that you can do this. And so,
and if you have a wife that is considered an equal, like probably
Robin was to Cody.
Yeah. Or even Mary, where he felt like she had too much control over him, because him and her probably started it out as equals. And now he was trying to get more control, to control his family and not let.
But I think that worked for him and Mary to have some level of equality.
Yeah.
And then Robin came around and she wanted the equality. So then Mary has to become demonized, so that Mary is now taking something that doesn't belong to her in trying to obtain that equality. And now she's overstepping, and now Cody's angry and doesn't want her to have control over her. But that worked for him for a lot of years, to have him and Mary be equally yoked. I mean, you hear that in the scriptures, find a partner that you can be equally yoked with. And in polygamy, I don't know, maybe they think the man's on one side and you got to have 15 women, because not one woman can be an equal to a man. So you got to get 15-to-1 ratio so you have equality. I don't know. But yeah, I really feel like David really pointed that out, saying, no, I've been around polygamous men. I've talked to them personally. They don't want their women to have any sort of like their own self-driven self-motivation, and they want to be in control of them all the time. They don't want them to truly express who they are. And that's what's really sad. And you'll start to see when women leave this religion, we see this with all three of the original wives, they're blossoming. They're growing into these women that they've always been. They just didn't know that they were, and they weren't allowed to show that. And Christine points out several times throughout this whole episode about how much lying happened. And we've been saying this since we started talking about Sister Wives, that's why people in the AUB, the people that we know, didn't watch it, because it wasn't true. And Christine, she's just laying it down there. That's another lie. That's another lie. That's another thing that they lied about. There's so many lies. They lied since the beginning of Robin coming into the family. And I don't know if she categorizes herself in that same category, if she sees where maybe she was misleading to the public as well. I know I see it. I see it in some of my home videos that I watch. I see where I was misleading. And I've even apologized to some of my siblings for misleading things. Go ahead.
Yeah. Or just you're saying something that you don't necessarily, in your core being, you don't believe, but that's what you've been taught to repeat over and over and over again. And so when you're saying it, it doesn't come out genuine. So
it doesn't quite resonate with me. It's not in alignment with who I believe I am, but it's what I'm supposed to say. So,
and usually you say what you're supposed to say, or you're going to get a lecture or a punishment, or or locked in your room for a week, or whatever. They come up with some sort of punishment until you agree with the teachings. You fall in line, you're obedient, and so you would mimic exactly what you were told by your parents, by your father, so that you weren't getting in trouble. It was just an easier way to keep peace. If you rebelled in any way, that's the word I was looking for. If you rebelled in any way, it was eggshells. Everybody was on eggshells. And so, these young girls, my sisters, if they weren't repeating everything that they were taught, if they weren't weren't doing their cook weeks and all of that stuff, they were considered, if they had a voice and they spoke with it, they were considered rebellious. And then you would get disciplined for that. We all got disciplined for being rebellious. So by just talking back. And so you parroted and you repeated what they told you over and over again.
Right.
So
that's why I'm saying I don't think that the Browns purposely meant to mislead people or lie to the public. And, you know, a lot of you guys have come into the comments and said, well, I mean, that's not true. But when you're raised in a cult and this is what you believe and this is what you've been trained to believe, it is true. And you don't understand it until after you leave and then you see the lack of integrity. Yeah. But you don't know that you have that lack of integrity until after you leave, because this is just what you were taught to feel. And where most people outside of cults can say, oh, that doesn't, my moral compass is off. That doesn't feel right. I don't believe that. I don't like that. In a cult, you can't, because you can't question your own feelings. You go to your husband and you get the true feelings that you're supposed to be feeling. You go to your leadership and you get the true feelings that you're supposed to be feeling. And so you doubt your own feelings a good portion of the time, because you're not supposed to have, you're supposed to be directed and led. Go ahead.
And it creates multiple different personalities or young ladies, where you've got those that are very obedient, very subservient, and then you've got the chameleons.
I was probably one of those chameleons.
Yeah, a chameleon. Robin, I feel like, is a chameleon. Oh, yeah. You had a lightning bolt story. That's what I had. And then she tells that story over, and now that's her story. And so, yes, that's something that I want, and I want to insert. Oh, the pictures. I guess there's the picture somebody put on that. We haven't seen that, but yeah, Cody is now the father of these little kids, and I'm going to put that in. She tells everybody what they want to hear, and becomes a chameleon, and then does it in a way where she can convince them
that it was their
to guide them or go down this path. So
right. And so
she's not a very good chameleon right now. She's just a pouty.
Well, she's giving zero input to this whole entire tell-all. It's
she did give some input. She did the snarky, yes, I got the thing. Yes, ladies, I got it. And she does it. And there's a few other, just all she's doing is trying to snap back at the ladies. So it's fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, so then we go into they're talking about how Cody cares about appearances and recognition and how beautiful what his family looks like. And we have talked about this numerous times on this channel. There's a lot of men in the AUB that do this. They want their wives to look well put together. They want their children to look well put together. They want their families to look. And again, we were told before we were interviewed with people, my dad did a lot of interviews. We were told you have to appear this one way. Like your family, Cody and Mary went to Cody's family.
We had to be on our best behavior.
Because you want your family to appear that you have your stuff together. And so when Christine says this, Cody is very much this way. It's all about aesthetics. It's all about what does everything look like. And so I wondered how he's processed through some of that, knowing now on season 19 that his family's completely fallen apart. I know he says he punched back and started, defending himself to people, but I'm curious, how has this hurt his pride at all, or hurt his ego at all, or is he just deflected and made himself just the victim in everything? And so he's like, I can't be embarrassed about what my family looks like, because those guys chose out, they quit, not me. I'm still here. I'm still part of it. Robin's still a part of it. They quit. It's their fault. Be embarrassed for them.
And he's a typical polygamist. He's been raised because he's really good at punching back on women. So couldn't do it. Couldn't do it with somebody his own size. So
and everything that they ask Robin, Suki asks Robin, do you feel like appearances? And she's like, And she like looks around the room like she's trying to get an answer. Like she's just filling up airspace, right? Because she's got to have something. She can't just say no. And then she's like, and then she asks it in the form of a question. I don't think so. At least I never noticed that. And it's like, sweetheart, you didn't notice it because you're the one doing your hair and the makeup while the other women are busting their butts camping.
Well, that's a lie.
I know.
I don't
remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
And
that's
yet
a lie.
we just watched those episodes and
I
did
know,
a recap on those episodes.
But what we didn't see is the very first morning that they got there, because she said, that's a lie. I helped with the cooking. She brought out cold cereal and some milk and says, okay, everybody dig in. And that was her contribution to the cooking and all that. Or she sat around the fire and cooked up a s'more and was like, yay, I helped cook. So,
well, and I just think it's sad because Robin and Cody during this whole entire thing are being dismissive. They're being dismissive of the wives. They're being dismissive of the experience. They're being very condescending to the wives. They're being and they're just like, oh, these are such trite things. Cody knew he learned a new word of the day and he's going to use it through the whole episode. And
shout out to whoever put that in our comments that it was the toilet paper word of the day.
Toilet paper word of the day. Yeah.
That is awesome.
That was funny because he's like, oh, it's just so trite. And then they try to make you look petty for bringing these things up when this is what you lived with on a day-to-day basis. This is what these women, for the one thing that they brought up, they didn't bring up 500 other things that are just as equal to this one thing. They're bringing up this one thing because it was on camera, because everybody could see it. The 500 other things that happened regularly, they didn't maybe catch on camera. And so he's like, Robin doesn't think about doing her makeup. Yeah. You know why? Because the other women were there taking care of the chores and slaving away and working. That's why Robin didn't give it two thoughts. But we could point out the episode that it happened in, and maybe Robin could go back and rewatch it.
He's probably right. Robin probably didn't do it. It was Cody going around going, oh, you look so wonderful. You're so... Cody was heaping the praise upon Robin and how beautiful she is while they otherwise are off working. So
yeah, and
it's typical.
It is very typical. And what's sad is that, my mom worked 3 jobs. She didn't always have time to have herself well put together, but I'm one of the oldest daughters. And so my dad would comment on my appearances all the time. They were always important to him. They were very important to him if he took me somewhere into, church or whatever. And I remember one night having dinner and my dad says to me, and I had just for the very first time ever gone to a hair salon. My mom traded with somebody, and I got my hair done professionally. Never had that done, but it's because my mom traded work with this woman. And my dad came home when we were having dinner and he looked at me and he goes, wow, Mel, your hair looks beautiful. I will never forget the amount of pride that I felt that moment that he had noticed that I looked nice, because that's how important it is to these men. And so our looks are hinged on everything that they think about us, everything that they, is she pretty enough? Is she thin enough? Is she healthy enough? Is she whatever enough? And so I'm disappointed in some of these men that this is so important to them, but it is. And then it's reflected onto these young girls. And now I'm happy to say that I have two daughters that never wear makeup. It's not a part of their lives normally. Very seldom do they ever do this. And I love that they're okay going natural, that they're okay with the way that they look, because they were not raised in a society that this was so important. And so go ahead.
No.
Oh, okay. So again, Robin and Cody just dismiss any of the upsets that the wives might have and why they have these upsets. It's not this particular thing. It's this thing that happens over 1 million times over a span of time. And so, but they want to make these little experiences so trite. They don't matter. Look how petty you are because you're bringing this up. Oh, come on. There's more important things to worry about in the world. You have a problem. The rest of us are fine. Why do you have such a problem? And so he wants to try to minimize the damage that his behavior and Robin's behavior has done to these women, and probably their children. They're at least their girls.
Well, and so I wanted to mention Christine's snapback at him too. Like, oh, that poor
Oh,
guy's
yeah.
losing his memory at that age.
I don't remember
Oh my
that.
God. Yeah, I don't remember that. Oh, it's so sad. He's losing his memory so quickly.
Oh, Christine was on point this
Yeah,
time
she
too.
was
She was
amazing.
funny.
And Janelle.
Janelle
they
is
were awesome.
Janelle's always going to come back with the queen of I have no more F's to give in my pocket, so who cares? And so I love the way that Janelle is just like, I've washed my hands of this guy. I don't care. We're just going to talk honestly about it. Christine, you can tell, still has some emotional triggers, and she's still, her heartstrings and she's still hurt. And so she's getting tugged a little bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I just think he's saying and doing all the things. Why is he? I felt like she was doing. Why is he saying that? Just to try to go or
Well, she's very
do an
analytical.
attack? Yeah.
And so she's like, he's got a reason. Why is he saying this? Because
Yep.
now she realizes how many years him and Robin have been purposely manipulating situations.
Oh, yeah.
So
And
now she's conscious of it.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like she was the first one to kind of catch on. The kids, I feel like the kids caught on pretty quickly, especially the older ones, and then Christine and Janelle, and hopefully Mary's catching on. So
I hope Mary is now. I know at the tell-all she didn't seem like, I think she got, I think Mary went through some mental gymnastics watching this episode, and I could be wrong. I'm just what I'm observing. So one of the things that Christine talks about is how Cody didn't respect her, at least as a mom. I wrote a mom, a wife, a sister, an individual, a woman, that he doesn't respect her. And that she got respect for herself once she kicked Cody out of her bed and out of her home. And I absolutely agree. That is so empowering. That was one of the most empowering moments of my life ever, because everything hinged on what he needed or what he said. And when I finally found that, and when Christine finally found that, then she's going to be attracting women relationships into her life, like David. Hopefully that relationship is just going to continue to heal Christine and heal David, because David's gone through some trauma as well. So then Cody comes back and he's like, oh, I respected them just fine. But in the end, Christine was done with me. She had nothing to do with me anymore. And she didn't respect me. And then her and Janelle got mean. That's when I started getting mean.
Punch back.
Yeah, he started punch back. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You've been mean to these women for the last how many seasons? And now you're just going to get mean? No, that's why your marriages ended, is because you were inattentive and mean. I've been really impressed with Cody during this last episode. I have been like, wow, Robin has been teaching him some things, and this guy can cry on demand now. It's amazing to watch. I'm just like, this man can be taught. And, you always say, oh, no, you can teach a monkey to dance, or you can, not my monkey, not my circus. Well, Robin has made Cody her monkey, and this is now her circus. And Cody does whatever she tells him to do, and he's now crying on demand. And so they're talking about why the way he met Robin. And you can never go wrong when God is your wingman. Oh, my God, this man. Again, I've said this in past episodes. True love does not require that you abandon your children. God will not be your wingman when you are taking something and replacing an entire family with it. I don't agree with that at all. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, I just remembering back, I went to some of the polygamous get-togethers when I was a young man, things like that. And it's interesting because the way the young girls are raised, they're looking for a charismatic Tesla coil of a man who has 2 or 3 wives, and he's just showing up in church and dropping lightning bolts left and right. And here I showed up single, kind of nerdy, and got a little bit of static clinging. So I'm shocking the girls, and they're like, ow, get away type thing. But man, Cody's in there just throwing lightning bolts all around church, hitting all the ladies. So yeah, it was interesting to hear everybody had lightning bolt stuff, and I was just in there annoying people with my static
With the
cling or
purple comb in the
charge.
back
Yeah.
of your pants. Corey used to walk
So,
around with the purple comb.
yeah.
Uh,
And then they go in talking about the shirts that, and it was one of those things where you would go to these big functions, the big get-togethers, and if a couple were married, they're wearing matching shirts, and there I am with my Def Leppard shirt at a church function, screaming single, because there's no other
girls that are gonna wear
righteous young ladies that will be wearing a Def Leppard shirt. And so there I was, the single guy, and it screamed single because nobody had my matching shirt. So
my little sister would have had it.
yeah.
Yeah, that would have been bad. But no, I just think it's funny to watch Cody cry on demand. He's trying so hard to make this relationship with Robin look so deep and so intense and so like it was just written in the stars and it was brought together by God. And it was this like relationship that is just beyond anything that us mere mortals can comprehend because it was just written in the stars. And so when I'm watching him and just get, it was just a moment. And yet I do remember seeing a clip or two where he was saying, no, it was not love at first sight with Robin. I was actually repulsed. I was actually disgusted because she had children and she was a divorcee and she was a single mom with kids and she drove a minivan, which of course is not aesthetically pleasing to the guy with the convertible. And so I do remember hearing and seeing him say these things in a couple of different clips. We haven't gotten to that episode yet, and so I find it funny that here he would say, in one hand, he's over here with the waterworks and the tears and the deep romantic affection for this woman that God just brought them together. And then on the other hand, he's over here. Yeah, she drove a minivan. She was single. I had no interest in her.
But I think he was saying that for the benefit of the
I don't know.
3 older wives. I don't know.
Who knows
So
with this man anymore?
yeah,
because
it switches up.
I feel like he lies. He tries to shift the narrative to whatever is happening in that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. And then he goes on. I don't know. He goes on to talk about the dance that they met out. He explains how they met, how they, at first he sees her. He eye gazed at her a little bit too long, and then.
But she corrects him.
She's like, no,
I gazed at you first. And she's doing that because she doesn't want him to come off as the creepy
married guy
doing that. And he's saying, I'm a creepy married guy eyeballing this possibly married woman across the way. And she's like, no, I'm the one that gazed at you first because it's okay for me to do it because I was divorced and I caught your attention first. Because she's trying to make it look, because if he was the one catching the gaze and staring her down, that might hurt some of the other wives' feelings. It would be considered creepy within the teachings of the group, even though they all do it. Every single one of them are eyeballing
other
girls, even the married ones,
because they
could always be recycled back in. And if they can get that lightning bolt to hit them or that gaze or that wink, this man's on point. He's got all the player moves. If he could do all of those things, and then she goes, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong family. I need a release for XYZ.
And I know dozens of women who have said that. I am in the wrong family. I am supposed to be in this man's family. I've gained a testimony of this. I need a release from my husband. I want my children released from him, and I'm going to go marry this guy. And that happens all the time. I see it. With my own sister, that happened. And I'm looking at her and we're having a conversation. I'm like, what are you talking about? You have 6 children. You did not marry the wrong guy. And so, yeah. She ended up leaving, and when she got that release from her, or when she left, I don't actually think she ever got a release. She never came back. She just left the AUB completely, which was great. But she had a testimony, and she knew God told her no matter what, she belonged in this other man's family. So this happens all the time. It's a perpetual dating pool.
It is.
In a cesspool
Mhm.
of, oh, you look like you could belong to me. Oh, you look like you could belong to me. And so there's this constant eye gazing or whatever happening all the time.
It's not a coincidence that on the church handles to get into the church are upside down pineapples.
Shut
So,
up.
they're not. That's just me being.
Oh my gosh. If you don't know what that means, we're not going to explain. Just Google it. It's just in Utah, it's a big thing. Everybody obviously knows. I can't believe you just said that. That's funny. And again, this goes back into what Christine was. So now you made my brain go blank. Goes back into what Christine was saying, is that how they lied. They layered upon layered upon layered of lies. I thought it was so funny because when we originally saw this episode where Cody was like, yeah, you can't go to church too long by yourself because I don't want people thinking you're a single guy. And then the way that Robin said,
wife.
Yeah, I received my bolt of lightning. It was odd to me, the way that she said it.
Yeah.
I was like, something doesn't seem right about, like, she just like, oh, I got my bolt of lightning. The way, and so then you see Christine watching this explanation, and Christine's like, what? This is the first time Christine's seen this. And she's like, that was my story.
Yeah.
How many stories has Robin come into this family and taken and claimed as her own?
Or created
out of nothing.
Like,
hey, I knew Christine's origin story with Cody, so let me go recreate that with Cody.
Oh, and this person over here got divorced from their husband so that this wife could marry that husband so they can.
That she's this sly.
She is. And then adopt the kids and get the name. And so, she's looking at everybody's story and see how she can implement it.
Some of that as her own.
Yeah.
And so
how wonderful it is.
I felt kind of sad for Christine because Christine's like, everybody knew how I met Cody. Everybody. And so I don't blame Christine for saying that there's layers upon layers of lying. And then they're talking about meeting at a dance. So dances are very, very common in the AUB. We would typically have one a month for teenagers. That's where, or young marrieds, where you could go if you were going to, looking for another wife. There'd be one at the beginning of every month. And then we would have these big, huge, like ballroom dances where the whole building would be changed and transformed into like a ballroom. And they were fun and we loved them. And they were honestly some of the things that I missed when I left, was because they were some of the most fun times, but some of the most heartbreaking times too, because a lot of stuff goes down at these balls, at these dances. And so they would have like country, like, what are they called? Like hee-haw dances. I don't want to say hee-haw, but they were called like country dances, but we weren't allowed to listen to country music. It was just, everything was ballroom type of music.
Virginia Hill thing. Virginia Reel. Yeah.
And then
Virginia Hill's the one that took them down. Not Virginia Reel.
Yeah. And so we would go to these dances and they'd have several of these every year. And they were just fun. They were fun when you're a young girl. Of course, when you're a young girl and all of the men are watching you. Now, the regular dances you could go to at the age of 12. And like the monthly dances, you could start going at 12. But the ballroom dances, you had to be 14. And so when you went at 14, that's because now you were at prime age to be bartered out by your dad to somebody else. And all the men were looking and all the men were picking and all the men were, this is basically a meat market. But as a child, as a young girl, I didn't understand that. Mm-hmm. I understood that it was a place where you would go and meet your friends. Mingle, and we would make new dresses. And it was just, they were, all of my girlfriends, we would get together and we would all sew new dresses for this. And, I always looked a lot older than I was. I'm 6'2". I've been 6'2" since I was 15 years old. So men thought that I was a lot older. So I got asked a lot to dance. I don't think I ever sat down. I was constantly getting asked to dance over and over. So Cody goes into his explanation about him and Robin. And at the same time, the way he's talking about it, I'm like, wait, he's talking about an AUB dance like that? What the hell? The AUB dances are not like, oh, everyone parted and we were the only two on the dance floor and the world,
That was Dirty Dancing. Patrick Swayze, his muse, when they asked him about his movie he did, the Point Break. You rob banks and stuff like that. Oh, no. I just thought I look like Patrick Swayze, and so I watch all the Patrick Swayze movies. So he was just bringing up
Dirty
Dancing
Oh my gosh.
as a moment that him and Robin had that is now on film. So they made a movie about his life in Dirty Dancing. So,
and this doesn't really, I mean, the way he explained it, everybody's watching everybody else. And especially people would be watching Robin because she was young, because she was, fairly attractive back then. And so, okay, stop. I know you grew up with her and you didn't think so, but for AUB standards, she was pretty attractive. And so, when you get a lot of inbreeding and a lot of other stuff, there can be some, awkward looking women. And so a lot of other men, I'm sure, were watching these two dancing, going, okay, waiting for their turn, waiting for their experience, right? And so they're not going to get lost in each other the way that he claims that they did. And especially because Mary's the one who told him to go ask her to dance. I guarantee you Mary's watching the whole thing. He's not going to get lost in Robin while Mary's standing right there. Probably the prophets on the dance floor too. Probably all the apostles are on the dance floor too. They're not going to get lustful into each other's eyes while they're on the dance floor like this. That just doesn't make sense. And so the way he explains that is, I feel like I agree with Janelle. He's making stuff up to hurt them. He's making this up like, this is what happened. We fell lustfully in love, because you can't tell me that this is honest, genuine love. This is lust. And the way he's explaining it is lustful. What?
They've been together for 19 years now. So
right.
Maybe it is
long-term love. I don't know. But the way he's explaining it is lustful.
It is. And it's a way that he would never explain it if he was a part of the AUB.
Yeah.
Because if he was acting and explaining it like this, if he was telling this story to his priesthood leaders or to other women, that he would be shamed. He wouldn't get another wife. Mm-mm. So he's doubling down. He's okay with Robin. He's doubling down, and he's not going to marry another wife. So he's doing everything that he can now, as a Gentile, he's monogamous, tell his story. Yeah, because he still considers himself a priesthood leader and a righteous man.
Right.
And he has still kept all of his covenants, and these women have broken their covenants and taken themselves off of the table that's going to the kingdom of heaven, or in the kitchen of the kingdom of heaven, whatever it is. So,
well, and some of you guys have come into our comments. Now I'm going to address that since Corey just brought that up. Have come into our comments and said, doesn't he automatically lose his priesthood? That's debatable. People question that all the time, because some people believe, yes, if you have indiscretions, your priesthood's automatically gone. Other people believe once it's been given to you, no one can take that away. No one other than God can take that away.
Or the priesthood council can excommunicate.
Some people don't even believe the priesthood or the prophet can take it away. It's a covenant between you and God at this point, and God's the only one who can remove it. So it really,
those are the people that have been excommunicated. They're like, you can't take that away from me.
I own that. Well, and so part of it too, I want to bring out is that Cody received the priesthood in the Mormon church. So he received the Melchizedek priesthood, which is the highest form of priesthood. So he received that in the Mormon church, and he also received that in the Polygamous church. So he was doubly endowed. I was waiting for your smirk on that one. And so, yeah, he got it. If he didn't get it right in the Mormon church from somebody, he got it right in the Polygamous church from somebody. So this man is doubly protected. No one's going to take that stuff away from him. So I just had a lot of questions about that in our comments. So that's why.
And he feels like he has not done anything to break those covenants. And so I kind of when Christine basically says, what did they do before? He was very familiar within the with her bedroom, being able to go in her bedroom. He wasn't married to her yet, but he would go into her
I'm getting to
bedroom.
that one too, yeah.
Yeah, that was that there would be a breaking of his covenants, and he would lose all of his wives at that point if it came out that he had
Premarital
relationships with Robin. That would be the end of all of his marriages,
right,
including Robin's and
right.
his, and then it would just be the legal marriage that he would have. So if
Right.
it does come out that that's the actual case,
but not in his college case, because that was before
he made covenants.
Once he joined the AUB, he was baptized into the AUB, so all of his previous sins were forgiven. They don't matter. He can do whatever he wants to in college, whoever, whatever. And then he joined the AUB and was baptized. Did he go through the right repentance process? That's yet to be decided. That's between him and whoever else is in charge of him. But that's just kind of how that works. He's not just going to lose his priesthood authority, or what he thinks is his priesthood authority, just because his wives leave him. So he's talking too about, Suki starts talking to him. Well, have you had these experiences with any of your other wives? Did you fall deeply in love? He starts to reminisce about Mary and starts to realize, oh yeah, I did have this genuine affection with Mary. And this is where the same shirts come in. Oh yeah, we used to do cutesy things like wear the same shirts. And which we all did. I did the same thing. Corey didn't, but I did. When you are young married, so yeah, we got, if you would go to an event, like a youth conference, and there's an activity that's happening quite a while, and you would see a man with a shirt and you'd see the woman with the other shirt, they're married. And we as women would do this to stake claim on our husbands. Like, yes, he's married and he's married to me. And so this is how you would identify that was, look, yeah, he's married. Look, because a lot of these men don't wear wedding rings because of as you've seen in Sister Wives, some of the controversy that the wedding rings can cause. So they don't wear them.
And that awkward moment where 2 or 3 couples show up wearing the same shirt because they all went to the same Old Navy.
The 90s Old Navies. Isn't that the truth? That's so true, because that's where the whole family could get all their clothes that fit, right? That's so funny. That's hilarious. But then Suki tells this to Mary, and I just think that messed with Mary's head hard.
He keeps throwing those out to see if she's still hooked, and yeah,
it seemed that way to us.
Yeah.
We could be wrong. Maybe Mary's over it now, but in this tell-all, it appeared that when Suki said that to Mary, it hooked her. She was like,
it's just like,
oh wait,
well,
Cody said that about me. He forgot he had an intimacy and a love for me.
Well, I'm glad he's found that. But...
Right. And she talks about him winking at her. He winked at everybody. I remember him winking at me. And so he did. He winked at everybody. He thought Yeah, he was a tick. He thought that he was, a Casanova. And so he really did walked around like he owned the place. He was very arrogant, very cocky, very confident and sure of himself. He'd wink at everybody, but not to take that away from Mary. I'm not trying to take that away from Mary, but that's just how he really was, and so I thought that was sad for Mary when Suki says that to her, and now she's, I'm glad that he remembers. I'm glad that he remembers these like really important moments. And so, all right, and then we're going into Janelle. She's talking about Cody and Robin's courtship and how long it was. So this is the real big problem that I have with, especially the AUB, is because the courtships are so short, and they are because he's married. It's it's not appropriate for him to be out on dates, right?
Well, and they do that. I feel like they do that on purpose to try to, hey, you guys got to know each other. You need to now get married so something doesn't happen. And having a year courtship, something could happen.
Yeah, well, when he says something could happen, they could slip up and have premarital relations.
Yep.
That's what
which would destroy the family. Mm-hmm. And when Christine points this out, hey, what went on? What's all this? She's not doing that yes, she could be doing it to be a little facetious, but
to poke back at him.
But she's also doing it because it tends to be an epidemic within
the AUB.
And
there's a lot of premarital sex that happens in the AUB.
How you would know is if Robin and Cody decided to start dating another young girl, and Robin insists on going on every one of their dates and stuff. I mean, they're not going to tell that part of it. If they might someday.
Well,
but
I insisted on going on all the dates, and we didn't have premarital sex with my first husband.
Yeah.
But he had gotten predatory after we got married. Yeah. And so so that's why I went on the dates, but not because we had had premarital relations, because we did.
But usually what happens is they start dating somebody else, and then the wife before tells. So tells what went on. Mm-hmm. So and tells the other wives, and then once those other wives know, they go tell their priesthood leader, and the whole thing blows up. So
that's what is so frustrating about the AUB and about polygamy and lifestyles in general, is because here is this religion that's based all around marriage, yet we don't celebrate second, third, fourth, fifth weddings, just like Christine said. We don't have courtships. This is an eternal commitment that you are making for the rest of eternity. You better get it right.
On
and you better
30-day
know that
notice.
in 6 weeks.
Yeah, or whatever it is. Yeah.
It makes no sense. And so it's a flawed system where it's like, no, here, you can never be alone with this person before you marry them. You don't kiss them before you marry them. You don't do anything with them before you marry with them. And then you make an eternal commitment with this person. And then, oh, just kidding, we're not compatible. It didn't really work out. Too bad. You're still to them now for all eternity. There's no way around that. You can't get out of that. What do you do now? You know?
And to undo that, you have to leave, or you have to commit adultery, or you have to, and it's usually, and the man sits back and no, I just will ignore you, put you over here, because I'm not going to break my covenants with you, because I can get more wives and have more kids. It's okay for me to do that, but you're going to be put over here. And then when they go, you know what, I'm done, you're the one that broke your covenant.
Right.
So,
right. And so this is where this religion is so flawed for women. Mm-hmm. It's so unfair to the woman, because he literally can put you out to pasture and you're just stuck. Oh, well, this is your lot in life. And how many times did we hear Cody say this? Christine, you made this commitment. You don't get to just leave. You made this commitment. And when Mary says, you don't get to bring that to me. Yes, I do, because I own you. Because forever, he feels like he owns these women, because they made a commitment based on knowing this man for a couple of months. And now Janelle's like, well, yeah, I wish I would have had that much of a courtship with Cody, because I probably wouldn't have married him. Yeah. I would have gotten off the charm ride. I love how she said that. The charm ride. And yes, she knew Cody previously, because yes, she was married to Mary's brother. And so yes, she did know him, but she didn't know him in that flirtatious. I mean, we knew each other, but there was no like chemistry like that until after I got divorced. And then I was like, hey, and then you were like, oh, hey, you know what I mean? And that was a big, oh, hey, you were so in love with me. It was great.
Well, you laid me down in a
I know that
lily garden of trust, because lilies are more righteous than roses there, buddy.
And roses have thorns.
They have roses and thorns.
I love you way more than thorns.
Yeah, it was my lily garden of trust she gave me. So I'm so much better than him.
Oh my gosh. So
more righteous. And I got excommunicated, so.
So yeah, I love how throughout the entire episode, Christine just is like, there's another lie. There's another lie. And she's not even shy about pointing out these different levels of lying. Then what?
Again, shout out to She said that he was doing Shakespeare, and I guess we gave him way too much credit.
For his poetic romanticizing of these.
Because I'm like, where's he getting all this stuff?
These one-liners.
Yeah. But yeah, sounds like
comment section came through.
Yeah, came through.
Thank you. Let us know they were song lyrics from a bunch of different artists.
And once you guys said that, the third time I watched it, I'm like, oh my gosh, he is listening Garth Brooks. Doggone it. So,
Corey hates Garth Brooks. I love Garth Brooks.
No, I don't hate Garth Brooks. I dislike that song. So
he had an ex-girlfriend who told him that was their song. He's like, that's a breakup song. What? What are you talking about? I'm like, babe, you didn't get the hint that quick, did you?
Yeah, I didn't. It was slow.
I'm not laughing at your pain.
Yeah,
I'm laughing
with me. Yeah. So yeah, so he's a what's her name? We went and watched the
Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah, he's a Swiftie. So
I don't know. I don't remember
what he was listening to.
You guys added a bunch of different.
Yeah, I'm like, that's brilliant.
Suki quotes the Carpenters.
Yeah,
and so I thought it was
right back at him. Oh, I can quote song lyrics too.
Here you go. We've only just begun. What do you think of that, Cody?
Oh my God.
So then she asks, I know. Yeah. Suki's asking Cody, did you fall in love with Robin? Or because he comes back and says, okay, this is the bullshit part. I'm sorry that I just swore there. I wasn't going to swear in this whole video. But this man started out on a mission to show people that polygamous people were regular people that they didn't break the law, that they didn't underage marriage. He set out on a goal and a mission. And then he comes back on this tell-all, and of course we've said this in some of our other videos. In the AUB, in any polygamous community, truthfully, they believe that they are set aside. They are the chosen ones. Out of billions of people who have been on this planet, they are the only ones that have been chosen by God to hold this law in place of celestial plural marriage. And it's a special calling that not everyone is up for, not everyone is capable of, not everyone is entitled to. Yeah. And so he set out this mission to show that he was one of these chosen people, right? And now he's at the point where now he's justifying why he's not one of these chosen people, because he failed. And I feel like this is how he justifies his pride and his ego, because just kidding. I wasn't really one of the chosen ones, because that doesn't really work. What were we going to say?
Well,
I saw you go up.
He just doesn't. He's saying we failed, but then this was taken off the table. Robin said that too. This was taken off the table. That is blaming the other women because they didn't stay faithful to the end. But
this is the part that I'm getting at. So he's saying that they can no longer live this higher calling or this higher law because it was taken off the table by the three OG who left. Mm-hmm. Robin feels Robin's been kicked by polygamy too. And so, but the part where Suki says to him, did you fall in love? Or do you think polygamy still works? And his response was, polygamy does not work if you actually fall in love.
No, yeah.
That's the part I wanted to reach through that TV and backhand the heck out of this guy. Because what? You thought these women just married you because you were cute? Because you didn't believe that they had a testimony that this was a higher calling for them too? And she goes, oh, and you fell in love. Oh, I fell in love hard, he says. Mm-hmm. And so he justifies his failure as a polygamist because he actually fell in love with one of his wives. What a crappy human being that he has to say that, knowing that the original wives are watching that. What more hurtful thing could he possibly have said and done? And so right there, he just admits that he was never made for a higher calling. He was never made to be one of God's chosen people. He was never made for this. What did I write? Good enough or righteous enough for this higher calling in God. There got kind of intense, but it just made me so frustrated because here this man comes in, sweeps these women off their feet,
gets them to love him,
an ample amount
because
of
he
children.
Loves him.
Right. It's true. Gets them to love him because he loves him.
Yep.
And then proceeds to to indoctrinate these children with this belief system, and then comes back and says, just kidding, it's not real, because now I know what real love is, and that's not real love. Just kidding. We're not really meant for a higher calling. And now his children have been indoctrinated. Fortunately, they left Utah and went down to Vegas. I feel like sometimes that's their only saving grace for some of those children. But that's where that one really lights me up.
Mothers. They were raised by their mothers.
Their mothers stepped in and took over where he failed, where he gave up.
And it is a kick in the teeth, especially as not only, but it's like, I've harped this belief system. How many times you want to go back to the firesides and all the stuff where he sat up there and preached one way,
in his
one thing
episode
to his kids.
In season 3.
Yeah. And now he's going, you know what? I fell in love with this. All that other stuff's bull crap I taught you. And they're sitting there. He is lucky that some of those kids haven't married into, because then what are they sitting there going, you sat there and
great, now I have 2 wives, Dad.
Brainwashed us. Yeah, brainwashed us for 20 years. Now we're living the same way you are, trying to make it work because you said it works, and now it doesn't.
And so Cody fell victim, because he's always a victim to his temporal and mortal lusts and desires. And he gave up his spiritual and eternal blessings for this mortal and temporal lust that he has with Robin.
Yeah.
And so now he's got to make his temporal and mortal lust with Robin and love with Robin seem something that is off the charts and divine and part of God's calling and making God his wingman. He's got to have some level of divinity in this relationship, because he literally gave up what he believed was an eternal, spiritual, sacred unions for this temporal, mortal desire that he had. And so when he comes and says, oh yeah, I fell in love hard. I fell in love real hard. Polygamy doesn't work without that. I went, you piece of
hypocrite. So
the hypocrisy. He is so lucky some of his children did not live this way. And that's the hard part too. We see that happen so often, where these people will preach this and preach this and preach this. Their children become involved in it because they have to. It's the only way to get back to God. They have to do this. And then the parents leave. And now the children are literally like, what the hell? Now I'm stuck here with 2 wives. I watched this happen with one of the boys, and he's stuck there with 2 wives. He didn't want to be a polygamist. His dad made him become guilted him. And now the dad left, and now this kid's over here with 2 wives going, I don't want to do this.
Do I abandon them?
Do I abandon this wife? Do I abandon these children? Do I take the one wife and leave? And now they're stuck. What do we do? Where do we go from here? And so shame on this man for coming out to America as he is divine and sacred and holy in his unions. And then 19 seasons later going, just kidding. I have temporal mortal desires that are more important than my spiritual desires.
Well, it's because he found a woman that he would rather give her a foot rub than rub his own feet. So, because it really is true. He found 3 women that loved him as much as he loved him.
Right.
And then he's like, and this 4th woman loves me. Oh my goodness.
Almost more than I love myself.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible.
Goodness. So and she's like, no, you're going to love me. I'm speaking Cody. So we're soulmates. You and I are the same. And so you should rub my feet. And so he's like, all right, it's over.
Well, so then they start talking about, they're going into, we have it actually playing right here. It's kind of playing as we're going. We do make notes, but we like to have it playing in the background. And so I feel like Christine and Janelle, they're all watching this, right? And Janelle comes back and she's all, what is his motive? What is he trying to gain by bringing this out, his tryst in college, and the way that, because they're talking about their sexual experiences, right? And and so I love that Janelle is constantly like, what's his angle? And the reason why she's at that is because she's watched Cody and Robin come from an angle every time. And she's watched them do it financially. She's watched them do it
Yep.
Housing wise, all of these different angles. So Janelle's always looking for the angle. And so when Cody's over here, because Suki says, why haven't you told any of the other wives about this? Why did you only tell Robin? Why did you only tell Mary that you had this college tryst? I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe with Janelle and Christine. I felt safe with Mary and Robin.
The safe word came with Robin.
And I love that
Comes in
Janelle
the
calls
door.
that. The safe word came with Robin.
Mhm.
It didn't come with any of the rest of us.
Mhm.
We didn't use this, and to me, the safe word is a cop out. And it's not, because in society today, yeah, we do. We have safe spaces. We have things like that, whatever. But it's also, I feel like Robin and Cody have taken it to a point where it is a cop out. It's an excuse. I don't want to deal with that, so you're not safe.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with this conversation, so this conversation's not safe. I need to back out. I don't want to be held
Or these
accountable.
kids aren't safe.
Right.
And so
Right.
she's able to push anybody who is disagreeing
Right.
or push them away. That's kids, that's other wives, that's okay, they're starting to catch on. They're going to hold me accountable for what I said here or what I did here, because Christine does hold her accountable for some of the things she said in the past that she's not. And so she pushes them in. This isn't safe for me. And
Right.
Cody comes in and protects. Well, all right, got to keep you safe here. And then she's like, well, you're not doing very good. God's keeping me safe. So.
Yeah. You failed in a couple of seasons. So now in this tell-all, God's going to keep me safe. Well, and I love that Janelle flat out just says, I think he's making stuff up at this point. He's making it up so that he can justify his relationship with Robin. He can justify losing 3 marriages to keep his relationship with Robin. And so he's making this up, and it's actually becoming real to him because that's the only way he can live with himself for literally abandoning 3 women and all these children.
He's watching all the movies and going, this is how our life is, Robin. So, and then he's retelling the song. This song is ours. This movie is just like our lives. And they're just creating this fantasy world that they both live in with all their dolls. So,
well, and so then Suki asks Christine, what did you think about that? You didn't know about this before you were married. And it broke my heart for Christine, because I feel this. I have been this person where she's like, I don't know what I did to not make him feel safe. And oh my gosh. And because I've done so much healing now, I recognize that, but there's a lot of times I don't recognize it. And Christine did nothing, but this is how we were programmed. This is your fault if I don't feel this way. Now, this is a lot more common in society. I understand that. Don't come at me in the comments. I understand this isn't just an AUB thing, but in the AUB, this is amplified 100 times, because it's your responsibility as the woman to make sure that your husband's needs are met. So her first instinct is, I don't know what I did or didn't do to make him feel like he could trust me. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, that's not a you thing, Christine. That's a him thing. And that's where I love that Mary is now identifying these things. That's not a me thing. That's a you thing. Because in this society, we as girls were raised that this is your responsibility, your husband's comfort, your husband's security, your husband's spirituality. This is all rides on you. You show up for your husband in a way that he is all protected and taken care of. And Robin did that for him, apparently. And so I think that, to me, that broke my heart to hear her say that, because you could tell that it just messed with her head. And I'm sure after this tell-all, her and David had to go home, and thank God she has somebody like David who could help her verbalize and deconstruct some of the stuff that she just talked about.
Well, and I think there's reasons that he told Mary, or that she had an intuition, and I think there's reasons that he told Robin. He wouldn't, and I wouldn't say that it was a safe space for him to tell the other 2 girls. He wouldn't tell them because he just made a covenant with them that he was coming in as the priesthood leader, as the pure, clean priesthood leader. He probably felt like that he'd been forgiven of that. He's now married Mary. Mary was like probably had that closer relationship where he was like, oh yeah, I've done this. They probably had that conversation. But when he's marrying second and third wives as a righteous,
not really,
he wants to put on that show that he is that righteous man, and they're going to be teaching their children how to be righteous. Those women have come in and not done, they've kissed for the first time over the altar, or been chaste up until they made those agreements. And then he wanted to connect with Robin, and he knows her past because she's probably told it to him, and she would realize that he probably had a past too by some of the verbiage he said. And so then
and Robin did. Okay, I heard a comment on another section or something, I can't remember, but Robin did have premarital sex with her first husband. She was pregnant when they got married.
Yeah.
This is where Cody's trying to relate to her. I had premarital sex too. We have something in common. Let's talk about it. And you hear Robin say that. Yeah. Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what I'm talking about.
I love that I am the reason you don't feel safe. If any of you guys have not seen the scare video I just posted of Corey, it's on my YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out. It's also on my Instagram channel. It's also on TikTok. Feel free to check it out. We did get a couple still shots of the moment that Corey's soul left his body during that scare. It was great. So go ahead and check that out.
And someday I will become a filmographer or whatever it is, to be able to show my scare videos, because I do a scare video for her and she's like, nope, the bathroom. You can see me in the bathroom. So
I was coming out of the bathroom, like
and
literally buttoning up my pants. I'm like, you're not putting that on social media.
So I do the same thing.
He is the scare master. He scares everybody, but
when you can get me back, it's awesome
too. And and I happen to have the camera ready on that one. And I love being the reason that every time he walks into the room, he's like, has to look both ways to see if anyone's in there.
It's not that I don't feel safe. I absolutely feel safe around you. We just want to create situational awareness at all times. And so it's that repetition so that we're not going to be jumped by anybody out, because we're always on edge.
It's true, we are.
So
it's like we can't walk around our house anymore. Like if the lights get turned off anywhere, it's just an instant, why? What are you doing? Where did you just go? So
we're just creating situational
and
awareness.
Our kids keep telling us, you guys need to start getting this on film. So that particular time I hear the voice in my head, you need to start filming this. And I was like whipping out my phone as fast as I could to get it recorded. So anyways,
and I swore that I apologize.
Please feel free to watch that video of Corey being terrified. He did swear at me. It was very funny.
But I don't use the language she uses, so.
No, that's the problem. I really have to tone down my language. I never swore ever until I got divorced. Never said the F word and until I got divorced. And then that made my ex-husband so angry. So it became part of my, unfortunately, my language. So I'm working on it. I'm working on handling some of that. So one of the things to, okay, let's see. Let me go back. Suki says to Robin or to Cody, why is it that you felt safe around Robin and Mary? And one of the things that Cody comes back with that I really, really appreciated is that it was because Robin has intuition, and he felt, and Mary has intuition. And that's the thing, is we all as women, that is one of our superpowers, is our intuition, our intuitive knowing. And yet we have been demonized through all of history for it, and been called witches, and been called all sorts of stuff, burned at the stake, because we have intuitive knowing. But it is very much one of the feminine qualities that women possess. We are and if you really tune into that, you will know when your husband is coming around the corner and you have that camera ready to snap his soul leaving out of his body. And so there are these moments where we do have this intuition. So I did appreciate Cody acknowledging that, because when we do listen to ourselves and our intuition, we do create safe spaces for our husband. I did create a safe space for you after you were terrified. But no, it is true. I feel like what he had to say was very true. When women do listen to their intuition, they do create safety for men around them. And so I feel like that is a huge superpower that women do have. And if they tune into it, if they become attuned to that, then they know how to, then your intuition will guide you and lead you how to be a mother, how to be a wife, how to be a partner, how to be a professional, how to be whatever it is that you're looking to do in your life. You will have that natural knowing.
Well, and part of growing up in our community, that I feel like that intuition was squashed. You were being
right. Listen to your priesthood head.
Yeah, no, that's not you. You didn't see what you thought you saw. Wait a minute. I feel like that wife is being facetious right now and doing this. No, she's not. She's a good sister wife. So you get that squashed a lot growing up. So,
and I was telling
and
that,
you have to relearn it.
Yeah, I was telling that to Corey, that when I was a child, I would watch these women interact, these sister wives interact with each other, and we would leave. And, bless my mom, she wasn't trying to squash this out of me. I don't believe she was. But at the time, one particular time we left, and I said, why do all those women hate each other? My mom was like, what are you talking about? And I said, the way that they looked and talked to each other, they looked like they hated each other. My mom's like, no, they love each other. They're all sister wives. They all love each other. And you didn't see what you think you saw. And so I started to doubt some of my own intuition. And as I got older, I had to redevelop a lot of that, refine that, and trust in it. And I go through periods of my life where I don't trust it. And then I go through periods of life where I'm in alignment with that, and I'm on point with it. And especially when it comes to my children, I feel like that intuition and that natural knowing is sharp, and it's there.
You were thinking it. Cat can read minds.
You were thinking it. So one of the things
loved Ice Age.
We did. I love that. I love how Christine just flat out called it out. How close were Robin and Cody before they got married? She didn't mince words about it. And when
she's pointing out all the red flags, it's the red flags that we saw too. So there are so many red flags that they didn't want to look at. She didn't want that to believe that intuition. Now she's believing that intuition. She's going, okay, I saw this, I felt this, and this is most likely what went on. And it depends how far Cody and Robin will go. If they feel like, okay, we're never going to be a part of the AUB again, he might go down that road where he goes, no, yeah, we did it too.
Right.
And she might be able to, I don't know, goat him into, yeah, we did it too. So there you go. And so then she doesn't even need to ask for a release. She'll be given one. So
maybe one day it'll come out. Maybe one day it won't. But I love that Christine points out all the reasons, because he did talk about Mormon naughtiness. Now that's a whole other thing. We won't go too deep into that, because there's a million ways that, you hear that you can Google it, a million ways how they get around
the gray areas,
answering honestly that they did not have premarital sex.
Yeah, because that is a question that's asked for them to get through their temple ceremony. So you've either got to outright lie, or you can justify in your mind, well, I was in a gray area, so I didn't go this far, so no, I haven't. So
right. And so Sugi's asking him, or you really think that Cody would do this? And she's like, I don't know. He did say intimacy, sexual experiences. What do you think? And she goes, and then Sugi flat out asks Christine, do you think Robin would do that? And Christine didn't even say anything. She sat there, and I'm like, well, Robin did do that with her first husband. So what's to say that
she didn't say that?
No, I know, but this is what I was saying.
Yeah.
Robin did that with her first husband. Why would she not do that with her second husband? That is something that she has done. Now she's claimed she's found God and repented and done all of these things, but she's done it before. Why wouldn't she do it again?
And there's also things that would justify their gray area. And that's when, he asked if I would marry him. I said I would. I said yes.
We knew we were going to be
Yep.
together.
He put a stamp on me.
He licked it so it's his.
Yep. Licked the stamp so it's his. And so now that gray area can be tampered in because we're going to get married. It's just up to the
done deal.
It's a done deal.
Robin
It's up to the priesthood to schedule it. So we'll just tamper in this little area, make comforts in this little area, just as long as we don't go there.
Right.
And so.
Well, and I love how Christine pointed out, because Suki's like, are you serious? Do you really think that? And she's like, I don't know. He's the one saying that he's had these experiences. Mm-hmm. And then he was super comfortable going to Robin's house and going directly in her bedroom.
Yeah.
And we made a video about that. That was Bedrooms one of my videos that went viral, is the fact that, you know, the women's bedrooms are considered sacred spaces and most women don't go into most sister wives don't go into other sister wives' bedrooms. It's not very common. It does happen, but it's not very common because that is the space where that husband and wife can be truly a husband and wife.
Yep.
And that's the only space that they can really be that. The rest of the house is up for grabs for the whole family. That's their only space. And so that is very sacred.
Not saying anything with permission or this or that. Just for appearances only, a married man does not go into a single woman's bedroom.
Or even her home.
Yeah, without another
some
wife.
Sort of chaperone or guardianship type thing. And Christine points that out. He was staying with her all the weekend. Mm-hmm. She required a 4th night rotation before she was ever, married. She required an extra night. And when Christine said that, he was very comfortable in her bedroom. That is completely inappropriate. Truthfully,
based on their religion,
any other marital situation, he never goes into her bedroom before they're married. He doesn't even know what her bedroom looks like before they're married. And yet somehow Cody was very familiar. Now, we're not accusing anybody of anything. We're just pointing out the things that we saw that in this religion would be very, very questionable. And it's, I was always taught, there was a saying I was always taught, stay above reproach. Never put yourself in a situation that could be misconstrued, where people might think that something happened. So just stay above it. And yet Cody didn't do that with Robin. He went and stayed down in St. George with her, 4.5, 5 hours away from his family. Every other weekend, was giving her all these weekends, to the point that she felt entitled enough to ask for a 4th night, demand a 4th night of the rotation of the wives before they were married. That's so, when I saw that, I was like, you've lost your mind.
That was taking the suitcase stand.
It was just getting her needs met.
It was. And so it was like,
taking the luggage
no,
rack.
I get the luggage rack.
That's the metaphor right there. Yeah.
He's the luggage rack, and I will take that 4th night. He put a stamp on it. We agreed. That was our agreement right there.
True.
Yep.
And I hate to say that, because I'm not trying to paint Cody and Robin out to be what. I'm just trying to point out the things that are there.
There's just been too many men that you would never think would do this kind of stuff within the AUB. It happens.
Happens to the best of the men.
To
what we think are the best of the men.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, and then again, Christine brings up, because Suki says, you really think they would do that? Christine brings up, I don't know what they would do at this point. Look at how much they've had to lie. Mm-hmm. Look at how much they've had to deceive to hide their romance that they've had since the very beginning.
Christine thinks you guys might have done stuff before marriage.
The way that Robin reacted to that question
was, you did.
She was like, what? Like, no,
would never.
I wrote it down. We had pastor kisses, church kisses, chaste kisses.
Assembly line kisses.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she was, where did we see the assembly line where Janelle was like, I don't want assembly. Oh, that was when she was asked at the end. Assembly line kisses.
All the kisses.
Yeah. That's hilarious. But she did. She looked like she had been, like she was stunned, like she couldn't believe that she was asked this question. How dare you?
Yes. I did the whole purity speech. How dare you ask me a question like that? How dare Christine judge me?
And Christine says,
so,
we've all seen their engagement photos,
Mhm.
and we have talked about this a lot. And of course,
they didn't even show the right one.
I know.
So
They show the nice, clean ones of them, like, piggyback riding and stuff like that. But they don't show the one where she's in 6-inch stilettos, leaning her entire pelvic area up against him while he's sitting on his sports car in silhouette form on a sunset. That is one of the most sexualized, inappropriate pictures. In normal world, that's a great picture. In polygamy world, that is a divorceable picture, I would think, because that is so inappropriate. And so I love that Christine's just pointing out yet another lie. Here we go. What is, this man's talking about one lie after another.
It's awkward having that picture up next to a picture of Jesus, or Joseph Smith, or whoever their current prophet is.
Yeah, or the current prophet. That'd be my dad.
Yeah.
Picture of my dad right next to that. Yeah, that would be a little awkward.
Yeah, especially because he's looking sideways like,
right.
That could be another wife.
Well, then Suki does ask Christine. Oh my gosh, don't start the comments on that.
I won't, sorry.
But then Suki asks Christine, would that have changed if Robin would have been able to marry him, or Robin and Christine's like, well, it would have hurt a lot more, and it would have been probably, if they would have had premarital relations, that would have ruined the family. All of the wives would have instantly been offered a release.
Yeah.
And so
it would have instantly, each one of the wives had been notified about it and told that they have a release. And
if they chose to stay with him, then by AUB rules and law, then they would be guilty of
the
fornication,
very crime,
adultery, as he was.
Because they're supporting him in the crime of his fornication.
So they would have been guilty of adultery too, even though they had not committed the act themselves.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Robin does say she only gave him church kisses, and unfortunately, I am not the type of person that will put a scarlet letter on somebody and keep it there forever. If Robin changed and she was a different person, good on her for doing that. I don't want to be the person that is like, wear the scarlet letter for the rest of your life because you're forever broken. I don't feel that way. And I just want to clear that up really quick, because I know there's a lot of people who do really shitty things. I have done really bad things, and I have tried to better my life and make my life, the people that I've hurt around me, I've tried to make whole as I can. But I have not seen that behavior between Cody and Robin. I have not seen them try to make the relationships around them as whole as possible. And so that's where I question it, is because they have not tried to do any of that. They have just dug deeper and deeper, like dug their heels in, going, no, this is not what happened, more and more. So, all right. And then she's talking to Cody about his, he thinks that she's talking to him about his sexuality at this point, and he chastises Suki. He's like, I gave you guys an inch about my high school stuff. You guys are now taking advantage of me. I'm not going to give you any more. I'm not talking about my sexuality. Well, Suki said absolutely zero about his sexuality. And you can tell in me, I'm watching Suki, and she seems like she's getting done. She's getting exhausted with this man, because she asks him a question and then he goes on this huge rant about something that has really nothing to do with what she's saying. And so I laughed at that part, because I was like, that's up for question. That's been questioned by a lot of our viewers. That's been questioned in the comments, questioned by a lot of other content creators about Cody's sexuality. I have no opinion on it one way or the other that I will vocalize publicly. I do have my own opinions on it, but not anything that I want to put out there publicly. But I thought that was interesting that was where he went to. Out of respect for my wife, I'm going to shut down this line of questioning. Again, that's where I believe this was obviously filmed in parts, that Suki was asking him questions. They shut that part down. She was asking him about his college tryst or whatever. They shut that down. He went and had a conversation with Robin and was like, why? And Robin's getting mad at him. Why are you letting him talk, letting her ask
control? You need to go in there and take control.
Don't let her
priesthood
control
leader.
this conversation. You need to get back in there and
go chastise her.
Right. Don't let her guide this conversation about your sexuality and your stuff. That's not the world's business. And then he comes back, out of respect for my wife, I'm not going to answer any more of these questions. So he was a good boy. He did what he was told, and I'm proud of him for that. So,
bringing a tear to my eye.
I know. I love that you're crying.
Yeah,
like Corey's been practicing crying on demand for me now. Especially when he talks about how romantic our relationship is. He's like bringing that tear to his eye pretty much all the time now.
Yeah.
So
I have to listen to, I guess, more Taylor Swift, so that I can be more romantic, and Garth Brooks. That's
so hang in there with us. This has been a long video, but hang in there. We're almost done. Yep. So Suki talks about, now she's starting to ask everybody, hey, is monogamy enough for Cody and Robin? And
that's all they wanted. That's all they wanted.
Right? Yeah. They wanted it under the umbrella of polygamous marriages, but they just don't want the other wives to have the equality of a polygamous marriage. And so, sorry, now I made my brain go blank. Cody just said that, if him and Robin ever broke up, that they would speak kindly of each other because they're truly in love.
Nope.
We both felt like that was a diss at Mary.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, right, Mary, we're talking nicely about ourselves because we were in love. Remember, don't forget we were in love. Where this Janelle and Christine, they've already gone on a hate tour.
Yeah.
And they've already done a bunch of other.
But if there's any ounce of love for what we had and what we created, we'll talk nice about each other.
Right. Right. And then they were talking about, I know Christine gets on there and she's talking about, and Suki, asks Robin again, would you live polygamy again? And she's like, well, I don't think so. If I had guarantees, which, come on, girl, if the other girls had guarantees about polygamy, you wouldn't be in the family because you're the one who came in and dismantled that family. Cody allowed you to do that. And so if the other wives would have had that guarantee, we'd be having a whole different conversation right now. This series would have turned out an entirely different way if they had a guarantee. But now all of a sudden you deserve a guarantee, but you didn't give them that guarantee. The entitlement of this woman blows my mind.
Her guarantee. Yeah, that's the way she's saying that too, is if I had a guarantee that these women will
conform and do what I tell them to do
and honor the commitment and the covenant they made to us all, no matter what went on,
no matter what.
And these guys
shenanigans I pull.
Yeah, and these guys got self-esteem. They've got a life, and they went, I'm worth better than this.
Yeah.
Well, you broke your covenant and went away from us, and you should still be a part of the family, putting into the family funding, allowing Cody to do with the funds that he will. So, and then she wants a guarantee that nobody like her ever marries Cody. So that would be an awkward moment. Younger version of herself.
I know. Because she couldn't give the original wives a guarantee that she wouldn't do this to the family. And so then Suki's talking to Christine, and they're talking about a retreat that they've gone down into Sedona with. We have not seen that episode yet, so we're not unfamiliar with what happened, just other than what we've seen on here. And Suki asks her, are you happier now, or were you happier back then? And Christine's like, yeah, duh, I'm happier now. Look at my life.
She's confident. She's
so much more self-respect.
Yeah. And I remember doing some of I did a class just before we got married, or doing it, and to be awakened of, you always say it, to all the stuff that I didn't know. And so we were trained to think and do a certain way, and all of a sudden we're they're being taught, hey, what is it that you're looking for? What those questions
Out
are
of this
never,
relationship with the
those
5 of you.
questions are never asked within the AUB. Here's a list of what you need to follow. That question of what is it that you want? What do you want to create out of a relationship? What do you want in life? Those are usually never questions that she's never probably asked herself or ever been asked within the AUB. So in any of our upbringing. So
well, and what's sad is Christine says Sedona was the place I realized just how little I mattered.
yeah,
And I think that was a little bit hard for my mom too, because I think we've all, as women married in this religion, we all have that moment. I had that moment when I realized just how little I mattered. Up until then, I didn't know, because we're sold a story our whole lives. You are the crown, or you are a jewel in the crown of your husband. You are so precious. You are so loved. Women are literally the treasures and the crown jewels of the priesthood and so this is what you are told your whole life, even though you're treated completely different.
As long as you conform and are obedient and follow these lists, that's what you are. If you have an opinion of yourself, if you're rebellious, rambunctious, any of these other things, you're disregarded. You are not worth anything. They're not going to fight for you. It happens with kids too.
Yeah.
If a kid is rebellious,
it's very true.
They're sent away.
Onto the next one.
Onto the next group
of
kids. Yeah.
That one's, we can dismiss that one. We have more.
This one's too disobedient. You're out. Go away. So,
and so another thing that Christine was saying is that trip made her realize, that, how Robin communicated with Cody, where she was like, no, I make him stay and we figure these things out. And Christine's like, I didn't even know that I had that option. Christine and Mary, and she's like, Mary and Janelle and I, we were team players. If it was one of their nights, we sent them home because we're not going to infringe on the other woman's time. And so if we're still in the middle of a fight and it's someone else's time, he's gone. He's going to spend. So I didn't even know that I had the option to have him stay to work that out with me. And so where Robin's like, no, he's not leaving until we figure this out, till we have this communication. He's not leaving. And so to see Christine have that awareness that, wait, you can do that? I didn't know. And that's why I'm saying so many times we have said, I don't believe that they purposely went out to mislead the public, that they were purposely lying. So often they just don't know that they can say things that the rest of the world takes for granted. Like, why wouldn't you just say that? Why wouldn't you just talk to him about that? Because I didn't know. We truly didn't know we had that option.
Yeah.
And so that is just heartbreaking to me when I hear Christine say this. And then also Robin comes in and she's like, yeah, when we are having a discussion or an argument, he'll start to fight with me like a man. And I have to remind him, I'm not a man. I'm a woman.
Put your emotional sword away.
Yeah. And so I have to give Robin some credit because she really has done a lot of awareness therapy. I wouldn't say she's done, I don't know that she's, done a lot of trauma or healing therapy, but she's very aware. She's very conscious of what is her rights, what is not her rights, what she can do, what she's, things that we were just not aware of. And I don't know if this is just because her mom helped teach her this, or she left the compound in Montana when she was, in her early teens. So she wasn't raised on the compound into that womanhood where those would now start to be cemented into her psyche. I don't know why she had the ability to believe in herself in the way that most of us didn't. The most of us were not taught was okay. And even Christine, Christine went to public school. We went to school together. We were immersed in the public, but she didn't know she had the option to tell her husband, hey, stay, we need to talk about this. Hey, we need to work about this. Hey, don't fight with me like I'm trying to go to war with you. I'm just trying to heal with you.
Well, and I don't think any of us, Christine, us, saw a healthy relationship of parents. We saw Cody's version of the the righteous, the upheld, the all that stuff. And oh yeah, that guy comes around every once in a while. So, but
Right.
it was this more elevated, holy communion that they were doing, not what happens in real life.
Right.
And so the arguments happen behind closed doors most of the time, things like that. The mother would say, nope, dad's right. Dad said this. He put down, he's put down this rule, this law. So we didn't really get to see any of that. So yeah, then you get out and get married and they're
Right.
having conversations.
Well, and so to me, you can't really fault Robin for knowing what she wants, knowing what's because these other women didn't, because they didn't educate these other women. Now, don't come at me in the comments. I understand this. I was one of these women that, yes, we were raised in a cult. Yes, but there becomes a point where you can't always blame your trauma on why you behave the way you do. It becomes your responsibility to heal that trauma. It becomes Christine, Mary, and Janelle's responsibility to heal that. If they didn't know that they had these rights or these, that they could talk to their husband or say something, that's on them for not learning that, for not going out there and saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm seeing this example from Robin. What do I need to do to become more like that? How do I need to create myself to be more like that?
Well, and I think they did. That's something that Christine says.
Well, and then that's why they left.
Well, and then she's like, well, wait a minute, Cody, I want that same thing. I want to be able to talk to you. I want to be able to do this. And then he's coming back going, well, wait a minute. We've been doing this for 25 years. That doesn't work. I'm okay to have this relationship with Robin. I'm okay to do that, but I'm not going to allow that to happen. We've grown together this way. This is the pattern we've created, and you need to stay sweet.
So when women start to set these boundaries, they feel like mean and threatening. And these women are now becoming out of control, and they're becoming aggressive and mean. And this is why Cody feels like such a victim. It's because these women started to learn about self-respect and started to feel this way, and they started creating boundaries and saying, no, this isn't going to happen, to the point where Christine's like, hey, get out of my bed, get out of my house. And so once they started to learn these patterns, that felt mean and aggressive to him, because that's what boundaries can feel like. And so
Robin was the pattern disruptor that probably woke the ladies up to go on, wait a minute, whoa, been in a trance of obedience, and all of a sudden they're going, oh, whoa. Yeah. And okay, we're wanting something different too. So
this is a very unpopular opinion, but I don't think Robin is as bad as everyone wants to make her. I know it's an unpopular opinion with you too, but she went in there and she made sure her needs were met. She made sure her children's needs were met. Yeah.
And I'll give her credit there. So yeah, she's not going to.
Did she do it at the expense of other people? Possibly, but I believe that's on Cody. Yeah. Cody made it at the expense of other people. Robin said, this is what me and my children will be treated like. This is what me and my children deserve. This is and Cody made that happen at the expense of the rest of his family. So Cody is 100%, in my opinion, 100% at fault for this family falling apart, not Robin. Because Robin just set up boundaries right out of the get-go and said, this is how it will be for me and my family, me and my children. And if you want to be a part of that, then this is how you will respect me. And Cody went, okay, well, if I have to respect you like that, then I can't respect them like this or whatever. And then the family fell apart. I don't know. Just some of my own thoughts on it. So then Suki says, are you happy now? And Cody, this is where he throws in the Garth Brooks song. Well, if I would have missed the pain, if I would have missed, but I would have missed the dance. And Corey, now we've watched this show 3 times at this point. This is our 4th time, right? And Corey's like, hell. That's where the song I just heard. And so 3 times before that, he never heard that. And then comments in our comment section pointed that out. And Corey's like, crap. There it is.
Yeah. So, here, I think he's all poetic and everything. And yeah, I hated that song growing up. So, and then, here he's quoting his Garth Brooks song. Good for him. You're not poetic, dude. And it's a stupid song, so.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
song. So I appreciate, here we go back to victimhood, where Cody's like, we did live polygamy and it was taken off the table for me. Would I ever do it with Robin again? Absolutely not. Because these 3 wives, they quit and left. And this is where he still feels, again, we talked about this earlier, where he feels justified because he didn't quit polygamy. They did. This is where my ex-husband feels justified in still owning me because he didn't quit the relationship. I did. So his priesthood's still intact. Cody's priesthood's still intact. All of these, men and their egos are still, because the women are the ones who quit. And then Robin says
Cody's 2 priesthoods are still intact.
Right. The LDS one and the AUB one.
Although the LDS one, they would probably argue it because he got excommunicated as soon as he got a second wife.
That's true.
So.
Cody did get excommunicated. So yeah, Robin comes back with her guarantee. I'll do it with a guarantee. Again, the first 3 wives would have liked that guarantee from Robin before she came into the family. She didn't offer up a guarantee. Then also Mary says that she still does believe in polygamy, that she has seen it work, but all parties have to be willing. I think before Robin came around, all the parties were willing because they were ignorant to some of the levels of self-respect that they have now. And Mary says she wants to find somebody that matches her energy. I really appreciated that Mary said that because I feel like that's so true. In this religion, unfortunately, you don't always have the luxury of finding that because the pickings are slim. Let's be real. Sometimes they marry cousins. And so do you have the same personality? Because, you have the same great grandpa. So you might have the same personality traits. I don't know. And then Janelle opens up. I mean, obviously Christine, she didn't ask Christine because Christine is happy. She's happy with David. She's creating a wonderful life where he treats her as an equal. He treats her with respect from what we see on TV. And then also she opens up Janelle says she's open to doing polygamy again, but she lives in the South. There's not very many options with that. I personally don't think Janelle will ever live polygamy again. I love that Janelle went into, I'm all things earthy. I'm a Taurus. Believe me, I love sex. I love food. I love wine, all of these things. So I love how real and honest we're now seeing Janelle be, because I think before, Janelle reminds me a lot of you in a way that you'll think these things in your head, but you don't always say them out loud because they're not really like
appropriate.
Right.
Yep.
And yet she, so I thought I love to hear her just be like, no, this is who I am now. And I love to see her own that. Yeah. And then Cody pops off, of course, with the Garth Brooks song. And then Suki's part comes back. Oh, don't worry, Cody. We've only just begun. My mom and I instantly died laughing because we love the Carpenters. So we recognize that song lyric. So that is our rewatch. Thank you for sticking in with us. This was a very long recap of this rewatch. We'll probably break more of these things down. We've actually been. Oh, do you have anything you wanted to go on it? Okay,
I got all my jokes in. Some of them fell flat. Some of them are still.
Some of them are sticking,
good,
and they're funny. But we've pulled some like fun things that we agree. What were you doing?
Yeah, there.
Oh. That we want to go into deeper episodes about. Yeah. So we'll be doing some more of those. So you'll see those coming over the summer fun months. And then let us know too in the comments what you thought about this. And if do you think any of the other wives are going to go back into polygamy? Or they're going to go back into the AUB? Let us know what you think.
None of my dad's wives that are still alive chose to remarry into it. They're like, no, we lived that. We're not going to do it over again. So
right.
Yep.
Right. Because I love to see that the lives that these women are creating now. I would love to see some offshoots of this show showing how these women have found their self-empowerment and now they're advocating and helping other women in this group. I would love to see something like that. I love Janelle's snark on there where she was like, I definitely want to get married again, possibly, maybe one day, but just not somebody who's a prima donna or so high maintenance. I love that Christine and David instantly start joking with her about putting her on Farmer's what was it? farmersmatch.com or something like that. And then of course, we all, I'm sure follow them on social media. So we're keeping up with some of whatever they decide to share with the world, in that aspect. But I think it's, I love to see these three women thriving, and I love to see them really like finding their voices and just being who they want to be. I've been very shocked to see some of Mary's social media when she's live and she's got tank tops on. I see her bare shoulders. I've been stunned by that because we just have not seen this part of some of the girls. And every time I see Mary do one of her lives, she pops up. We're friends on social media, so she'll pop up on my lives here and there, and I'm like, good for you. But it's a little shocking sometimes because I just haven't seen her in that capacity before. So
it's slowly. It's slowly. I mean,
they are.
I'm just barely getting short sleeve shirts. So,
I left 25 years ago, and it's taken me a while to even come to some of the being okay with some of the other things. Like I never drank or had any alcohol or anything till after I'd left the AUB. I was 26 years old. So there's just a lot of things that sometimes we slowly integrate into our lives. So, but I'm happy to see these women, really find that voice. So let us know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching this season with us and following along. We are still doing a first time watch of the series. So we are on season 3, episode, I believe 9, right?
I'd have to look at my notes.
Yeah, I believe we're on episode 9 at this point. And so now that we won't be having Sunday night watches with this, we'll probably dive a little bit deeper in that. And I know some of you had requested that we maybe do a watch of Big Love. So that one I'm excited for because we haven't watched that in a long time. And so I'd like to do that. But let us know in the comments what you guys think. And thank you so much for being a part of this whole season with us. We've really appreciated it. Yep. We've appreciated you guys welcoming us to this platform. We love this platform. And thanks for tolerating all of our jokes and our banter.
Thanks, guys.
On to the next one.
See you the next one.
Thanks.